Okay, step 2 is I tell the same story again, and this time Jano's going to make my response. Very consciously he's going to think about how I'm feeling in this story. Step 1 was just his first response, but step 2 is now my response, how I'm actually feeling in this story. So Jano, I've got a rat problem, and the rats cause a lot of mess and dirt and I have to clean up, and you know, try to be compassionate, but when you get 50 or 60 rats, it's very hard to be compassionate, and they take traps away and they're annoying and they're irritating, and poisoning them isn't much good because, you know, eventually they become immune to the poison, and it's not very compassionate anyway. So I was so over having rat mess on my table outside that I saw in the shop these strips, gluey strips. They're like 3 inches by maybe 6 inches, square trays, and you leave them on the table and the rats walk on, they stick on them, and then you can dispose of the rat, whatever way I guess you choose. So I tidied up the outdoor table and I put one of these on. It was early morning, and I went inside and came out, and within a few seconds there was something flapping on the table. And I looked there and there was the most beautiful robin redbreast. It was, wing was stuck there, its beak, its little feet were caught in the glue. And then I felt really anxious, and I started to want to get it out. How was I going to get it out? How will I ever get it out of this? Because the more it flapped, the more it got stuck, and I'm running around trying to work out how to get this thing out. And eventually I got it out. But it lost a lot of its feathers on one wing. And although it could hop again, I knew it would never fly properly for at least a long time. So in the second piece, Jano's made his response to my feelings, which is of course what empathy is how you respond to someone else's feelings. Now in the last piece, I'm going to tell the story again, and Jano's going to make his response to the story, what he actually feels about the story. So I had this problem with rats, a bit of a rat plague this year, you know, one rat's not too bad, but 50, 60 rats, is you're really getting over it. They leave a lot of mess around. They create a lot of extra work. They're quite annoying, and they make lots of noise. And the normal rat traps don't work. Poison isn't very compassionate, and anyway, they get immune to poison, and they're a real problem. I'm seriously getting over rats and all the work that it takes to keep in touch with rats. And so I saw these new sort of strips in the shop designed for rats. They're very gluey and square, and I thought they'd be good to give it a try. So I put one on the table one morning just after I cleaned up, went inside, came back outside, and something fluttering there. And I thought, gee, that's quick. It's only out for a minute, you know. And I looked there, and it was a robin redbreast. I love robin redbreast, and it was stuck, and its feathers were stuck there, and its little feet were stuck there, and its beak, and it was heartbreaking. And I felt really anxious, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get it out? What can I do? What can I do here? And I was running around, and then eventually I got it out. But its wing was torn, and it wouldn't fly properly again, at least for a long, long time. Now, once the 3 pieces have been made, the person who's telling the story is asked to indicate which piece best represents their feelings of the 3 pieces that have been made. And I'd have to say, looking at these 3 pieces, the piece that best represents my feelings is number 1, because it captures the feeling I had of the hole in my heart, that I'd done something really sad, lost part of my heart. And also this sort of captures that sort of anxious feeling I had, that sort of anxiety feeling that I had around how I was going to get it out. And this hollowing out too, like something's hollowed out my legs. I've done something that wasn't a good thing, but I didn't realise it till it was done. So number 1 definitely represents how I was feeling most strongly. So in conclusion, if the person's chosen number 1, then it means that this person tends to be overly empathetic. They immediately go to the feelings of the person whose story they're telling. If the person's chosen number 2, the teller of the story, then it means that the person who's responding, empathy is very balanced. If the person chooses number 3, then it usually means that the person has difficulty being empathetic, that their empathy is underdeveloped, and they're more likely to not be able to distinguish between what they feel and what someone else feels. So in this case, Jana, it looks like you've got lots of empathy, heaps of empathy, but it also means because you've got so much empathy that probably you'll need to do some work on boundaries so you are able to take some distance from other people's feelings. So that's just one example. In this book, The Healing Art of Clay Therapy, there's numerous exercises you can do to make visible the inner life of emotions and to get some insight as to what's actually really going on inside of yourself.